Thank you so much for that question. I think it's Mohammed that was asking, but it should start record. Yeah, there we go. It started to record now. It always will start after 10 minutes. So it's starting to record, and I will share it straight away with Henny. And I know there's some students who might join from Jackie's class as well as Emily's class this evening. So we're just going to wait a few minutes, let everybody join, and then we will jump right in. But most definitely, Mohammed, it will definitely be recorded and shared.
Thank you.
So we're just waiting for everybody to join, but for those of you who have joined along, a very warm welcome once again to the session. I know that we have students joining from other classes as well, so a warm welcome to you, and then to all my normal students who I see online, also a very, very warm welcome to you. Hi, Jackie, I see you also online. Hello, hello.
Hi.
I hope everyone's warm and safe and not being blown away in Cape Town or rained out in the Eastern Cape or any of the other cold weather that's hit the other parts of South Africa. I hope everyone is doing well. We're just going to wait two more minutes, guys. I'm just going to give everyone from all the other groups a chance just to use the new link and just to find themselves in the classroom, and then we will jump right in. We've got quite a jam-packed session this evening. So yeah, I'm hoping that everything goes well. And we will be looking at exam prep. So let's just wait 2 minutes, let everybody find the new link and find their way in, and then we will start. A nice big class tonight. Hi, Az, how are you doing?
Hi, ma'am. How are you?
Good, thank you. All
Um,
well this side. Hello.
I'm good, thank you. I'm from Henny's class, but I'm noticing now that for us, I think the chat isn't available.
Oh, shame. I think sometimes it has that setting in. I think the Q&A is available maybe to you guys.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Just check, but if it's not, don't stress. You can just always put your microphone and ask a question. Perfect. Thanks, guys. We'll just wait one more minute. I see the amount of people that are joining is growing. So we'll just wait, and then we will go through some exam prep sessions. Madison, did you come right there? I see you in the class. I'm not sure what link you are looking for. Let me know. right, guys, I think now's as good a time as any to get started. Like I said, a very warm welcome to everybody who's going to be listening to the recording. My name is Kim. I know that I've got students joining from other groups this evening as well. So welcome to all the other groups, Emily students, Henny students, Jackie students. I'm not sure if any of my release students are online, but a very, very warm welcome to everybody that is going to be joining this evening. I hope that you guys are all well, and I hope now with all the assignments out the way, we can now really just turn our attention to the exams. I almost can't believe that we're at a stage where we are starting to speak about exams and even just say that exam word, but we can't deny it any longer because they are indeed around the corner. So what we're going to do this evening is I'm just going to speak very briefly about the exam. I'm going to do a little overview of all the little learning units that we have to prepare for the exam. And then I want to see if there's time to go through the brief and answer any questions as well. So the beginning part, guys, is a little bit of a information overload. So I just want you to bear with me in the beginning. You'll see we'll get to a point where there will be some questions and answers after I've done an overview of each of the learning units that we are going to be dealing with, okay? So some of you will remember from last year how the exam sessions worked in terms of writing on the online platform. For our third year paper, we're going to use the same online platform as well. So if you are not familiar with it, please don't panic. There's a lot of training leading up to the time. There's a lot of videos that you're going to watch, and the platform itself is quite easy to navigate. So first things first, your exam will be written on the 8th of June, and you're going to write it on what we refer to as our OAP. So you would have seen on your PAS document, it would have said something along the lines of seen exam written on the OAP, the online assessment platform that you would have to do here as well. Now, all the online assessment platform is an invigilator app that you will do on your computer, and you will take the exam in any location that you see fit. Wherever you have a computer and a webcam, you will be able to write the exam. Obviously, at the same time as all the other students. So if we are writing, say, for example, at 8 o'clock in the morning, South African time, no matter where you are in the world, you will still write that paper at that time. So it works the same. It is written on the online platform and it is submitted on the online platform as well. Obviously, when you are writing the exam itself is closed book. So even though our exam on our PAS document, it says a seen exam, the seen exam is just telling us that we are able to view the case studies before the time. So some of you would have realized that on our student portal, we already have access to the 5 case studies that we are going to study. So we are going to spend some time, and you'll see in our next session on the 27th of May, Henny will go through some of those case studies with us as well. But that's why we say it's a seen exam. It doesn't mean that you are going to take your book into the exam and write it. It's still a closed book exam as well. I always tell the students that if they are able to take the learning outcomes in your module guide, you are able to take those learning outcomes and you can almost answer them in terms of a question and answer system. Then you have covered the scope of the theoretical content that is needed for the exams. However, some students sometimes get a little bit stuck here because it's not only a theoretical exam. Remember, on third year level, very similar to what your assignments would be, you are going to have to apply. So I'm going to just highlight here application. It is very, very important in the exam on third year level for you guys to apply the theory. So even though you are able to answer the learning objectives and you know the whole CI cycle, or you know the macro analysis or whatever the theoretical content will be, that is only for a small portion of the marks. The majority of your marks will come from being able to apply it. That's why it's important for you to already know the theory well before the time so that we can just work on how we can apply certain aspects to the case studies that have been provided for us as well. But a good starting point is obviously to go through all of those learning outcomes that we are going to find in our module manual. So you'll see the first 4 slides that I've got here is just an overview of what exactly those outcomes are. So I'm not going to go into depth about each of the outcomes. You would have had classes on these learning units already, but I just want to give you an overview of some of those learning outcomes for the learning units. Also, please, guys, remember, don't go and study learning unit 1 and 2 again. You can see here on the screen, our exam is from learning unit 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, so we are going to leave learning unit 1 and 2. So we don't need to go and have a look at learning unit 1 and 2. We're going to start right with learning unit 3. And a very good question that Laura has just mentioned here as well. You are welcome to write on a campus as well. So we do have students who choose to write on a campus. There is a special form, an application form that you would need to fill in, Laura. I think when you are registering and when you are selecting, you just have to choose which campus you will go and write on. So I'm not 100% sure of the exact process of it, but I know that students can go and write on a campus. So if you are in Port Elizabeth, you can go to the PE campus, or Westville or Sandton, or wherever you are at. You can definitely go and write it. You just have to make sure that you have applied to write on the campus, but you don't need any documentation or anything. You can go and write as long as you've just indicated that they're going to expect you at that campus as well. But yes, it is your choice. Like I say, we do have students that do prefer to go and write on campus, and obviously then we have students that will be choosing to write online. But yeah, you have both options available to you. Good question, Laura. So let's have a look at learning unit 3. So you remember learning unit 1 and learning unit 2, we look at strategic management, we look at sustainability, we look at drivers for strategic management within an organization and why strategic management is so important. But from learning unit 3, we're actually now going to move the organization in a strategic direction. So learning unit 3, and I highlighted some other important ones, guys, but I see it's gone a little bit blurry on my side, but I'm hoping that you can still see the highlighted. I see my screen has made the blue not so visible, but obviously I will make these slideshows available to everybody as well. So the highlighted one, guys, please don't think it's the one that's going to come out in the exam. These are just the ones that have come out more often than others. So we always see these ones coming up from each of these learning units. So we've just picked out a few that we know are super duper important. So if you are really pushed for time and you have limited time to study, then start with the blues. But we can't say, because sometimes they always throw us a curveball. But learning unit 3, ladies and gents, is all about strategic direction. So we are going to be looking at what drives the organization in a specific way. And we know that any organization, the first point of call for an organization is to develop a vision statement. Okay, so the board of directors, the CEO, will draw up a vision statement, a future intent of where the business wants to be. So this is where we are currently in our business, but where does our business want to go? What is our vision? Remember, our visions often use the words, I want to be the best. I am going to aim to be number 1, the leading supplier of. Those are the words that we use when we speak about our vision statement. It needs to be challenging. Our mission statement is our how-to. So this is the vision that we have. And now, how are we going to get there? This is where we will find our mission statement. So you will see as we unpack the case studies, they will ask us sometimes to analyze a vision statement and analyze a mission statement. So we need to know the theory, what makes a vision statement good, what makes a mission statement good, and does this organization have a good vision and mission statement as well. Leading on to that, we add a small part about value statements, which just reiterates, it's almost like the safety net of the mission statement that we would have here. So we need to be able to evaluate the effectiveness of a mission, vision, and a value statement. And this is where the application will come in. So when we have a look at the case study that they give, we need to take the vision and the mission statement and we need to evaluate it according to the specific criteria that they have provided for us. Remember, in our textbook, they give us the 5 criteria in which we can analyze the vision and the mission statements. Again, that's the theoretical content. We need to be able to apply it as well, okay? Explain how strategic direction translate into operational terms. So we know this is where we want to go in the organization. We have our vision. We have the direction in which we're going to do. How does that relate? How does that translate to operational terms? So at grassroots level, what must we be doing in terms of our daily operations in order to achieve our goals, our vision, and our mission statement that we would? So how can we use a balanced scorecard? So also an important concept that has come up sometimes within the organization that we would need when we focus on a balanced scorecard. Remember, our balanced scorecard has got the 4 quadrants, and in those 4 quadrants, you would have to be able to apply them theoretically as well as apply it to the specific case study that you would need to focus on. So just an overview of Learning Unit 3. We have our organization. We have the direction in which we are moving because it has been identified by the vision statement, which has been translated into the mission statement, the action plan, all put together in operational terms. What needs to happen on a day-to-day basis in order to achieve the vision and the mission and the direction in which we are wanting to go. So quite a short Learning Unit 3. Remember, Learning Unit 3 is also Chapter 3. So in case you wonder, we do go in numerical order as well. Then we look at Learning Unit 4. And Learning Unit 4 almost takes it one step further. Here we say, we know what the direction is that we are moving in. So we know where we are going. If I can draw my little arrow here again. This is the direction in which I am moving. What is encouraging me to make those decisions to move in that direction? So what are some of the strategic decision enablers that we would be making? So the first thing we need to look here is, what is strategic decision making? How would I define strategic decision making? What does it mean in terms of a business that we would need to do? So remember, our strategic decisions are the big decisions in the organization. They are the ones that affect the whole organization. They are not my day-to-day decisions that I'm making. They are my big overview that is going to impact the entire organization. They are not specific to a specific function. They look at the entire organization as well. So they need to make sure that every single part of the business is working in synergy in order to achieve that vision that we would need to be made. So obviously it's quite a big job for a CEO and for a board of directors to actually make decisions. So that is why they use what we refer to, and you'll remember this from your assignment, we refer to it as CI and BI, competitive intelligence and business intelligence. So these are tools that the CEO can use to help them make decisions. So we can analyze competitive, we can analyze we can do a CI cycle, we can identify the key factors within our CI cycle, we can do a BI intelligence analysis, which is gathering data from customers, from employees, and we can use all that information that we have gathered from our CI and our BI, and we can use it to help us make decisions. Okay, so in this chapter or in this learning unit, it's very important that you understand BI and you understand CI. I didn't highlight CI here yet, and the reason for that was because we've already touched on it in the assignment. So you already should have a good concept of CR, because you'll remember from assignment 2, we included CR somewhat in that assignment as well. So business intelligence is a newer concept. We haven't been tested on it yet. So what is business intelligence? Business intelligence is obviously collecting, like I say, information that will help us to make decisions within the organization. So they store the information. They will, if we think about it, a business generates a large amount of information all the time. Okay, so we are constantly gathering information on sales transaction, on customer data, on purchasing transactions, buyer behavior, debtors, creditors, inventory. So we have all this raw data. And what are we going to do with the raw data? We need to use it to make decisions on pricing, on strategies, on systems that can be developed, on consumer behavior, on marketing. We use this information in many different decisions that we are going to be using as well. So obviously, the more information we can collect, the better the information, so the quality of the information, and the more improved the information is, the better the information is, the better we can make a decision. And isn't that so true just in life as well? The more information we have about a certain thing, the easier it is for us to make a decision on it. If we are making a decision blindly, we don't have information, it's harder for us to make a decision confidently. But when we have all the information, we've weighed up the pros, we've weighed up the cons, and we know sort of the repercussions, we can go ahead and we can make a decision. Same in business. Once the business has looked at the competitors, looked at what their strengths are compared to the competitors, looked at all the BI in terms of customers, sales, data information, we can then use all that information to help us make decisions. It doesn't mean that decisions are easy to make. We still make decisions in sometimes uncertain times. We still need to manage the information that we are collecting. So we still need to be able to store the information that we would, but it becomes easier for us to make a decision if we have all the information that we have available to us there. Let's just quickly pause. It feels like I've just been throwing information at you. Quickly, just give me a thumbs up if we are following and if we are on the right page for now. Great. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, guys. Oh, look at all these thumbs up on my screen. Wonderful. Hey? Fantastic, guys. Fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. I see there is a question, so we'll just pause and just listen to the question now. Rivaldo, you are welcome to speak.
Oh, evening. Sorry, I wanted to react with a thumbs up, not with my hand. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. It was nice to hear another voice, not my own. Okay, guys, in that case, I'm going to just then go on to the next learning unit. So if everybody's happy there, Jackie, I'm just quickly checking you happy so far, hey?
100%. I'm enjoying being on this side of the screen too. Thanks, Kim.
Sometimes it's nice, eh?
Thank you.
No probs. So guys, I'm going to move on. I know I want to cover quite a lot in the short space of time. So I'm going to try and go through the next 3 and then I'll have a break again and ask some questions again. So the next sort of 3 learning units are looking at the different environments. So, you know, in a business, we have our 3 different environments: micro, macro, and the market environment. So the next 3 learning units are all about analyzing each of those markets in detail. So obviously, we're going to start with the macro. So we start with the big external environment first, and then we're going to work our way through to the final learning unit 7, which is our micro. So remember, ladies and gents, just to refresh your memories from first year, When we are looking at our environments, we obviously have the micro in the middle. I always like to draw a little heart here, but this way, let me see if I can make it a little bit better. Here's the heart of our business. It's the internal side of our business. Directly outside of it, we obviously have our market environment. In third year terms, we refer to this as the industry environment, but the same term is fine. Market, remote, task environment. All of those, if you see any of those terms, you know that they are referring to the market environment. And then we have our outside environment, which is our external. So we are going to start with the external and work our way in towards the internal of the business here as well. Key things to remember from our external environment here is that the business sadly has got no control over this environment. As much as what they want to think they have control over, they don't have control over this environment. Okay? So it is very, very important for a business to analyze the macro environment because we cannot control it. So we need to be able to control how we react to the changes and to the factors in the environment. And even better is not to react, but to be proactive, to put something in place before the concerns come, before the danger happens, before the impact hits us. We have already analyzed the market and we are one step ahead. So that is why it's so important for us to constantly analyze the macro environment. So we know when we speak about our macro environment, ladies and gents, you have been learning this from your first year. Hey, I'm sure you are sick and tired of it now, but guys, it's the easiest concept for us to learn when we speak about the macro environment, because in our macro environment, it's our good old faithful PESTLE acronym. Okay, so we still use the term PESTLE in third year. I know sometimes some students refer it to as PESTI, so they add the international factors as part of the I. But for us in terms of third year, we still refer to our PESTLE. And if I can say, ladies and gents, that if you understand a good PESTLE analysis, how to explain it, how to apply it, you are going to be fine for learning Unit 5. Okay, so you can see, evaluate and apply the macro factors and the forces, and you should be able to apply them. So those are the key factors in learning Unit 5. Understanding the political environment, understanding economical, social, technological, legal, and environmental, not only being able to define it, but more importantly, be able to apply it to the case study that has been given. So you're going to take the case study and you are going to try and pull out all the political factors, all the social factors, all the technological factors, and analyze the impact that those factors will have on the business or the organization. Mohammed, I see you have a question. You're also welcome to jump in and ask.
I want to ask, by forces, you mean Porter's five forces, right?
Not Porter's yet here. Not Porter's.
Oh, okay.
Porter's is going to come with the industry. Remember, Porter's 5 forces has got to do with our competition and our competitors. So you'll see it's going to come next.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I was
For
making
here,
sure.
we mean like all the macro forces and factors that would have. So like technological changes that we are kind of forced to use. So it's changing the way that we think in a business, legal factors, adhering to, we can't change the fuel price. The fuel price is the fuel price. So we are forced to adapt to the rising fuel price in our business. We can't decide what is the inflation rate or what is the repo rate or interest rates. Those are just things that are set up, but we can adapt and we can minimize the impact that those factors and forces will have within our organization there as well. So when we speak about macro, we speak about PESTLE. So if you can just remember that, then you're going to be fine to be able to apply it. It's just important to remember that that you need to apply them as well. So it does go to a little bit detail. Remember here, guys, just I see it's not up here, but I do just want to mention it because it's just, you've just reminded me of it now as well, Mohammed, that in our Learning Unit 5, you will remember in our last assignment, we also mentioned the VUCA structure, which is part of the macro environment, which just tells us that I'm just trying to think of all of them now, so just give me a second. The environment is volatile, it's uncertain, it is complex and ambiguous, eh?
Yes, that's right.
Yes. Thanks, Jackie. I didn't have the notes on it, but I just wanted to mention it before I forget that we also need to just remember it has come up in one of the past exams where they've actually had to also elaborate on the VUCA elements or factors of the macro environment as well. Volatile, uncertain, ambiguous, and complex. Yeah. Okay. So that
Sorry, Kim,
would be,
if I can just
yes,
add, we're just looking at factors that are outside of our control. Look at the war in Iran, what it's doing to the supply chain as a whole, ships having to reroute the price of oil. I know
definitely.
COVID was a while ago, but I mean the ripple effect of that and how businesses had to do a complete shift, change their strategies completely just to be sustainable, and to
No, very
actually,
true.
to survive.
Yeah,
And all these plans had to be done literally at the drop of a hat. So
yeah,
those are the VUCA type of factors that we refer to.
yeah. So obviously just anything that happens
Unpredictable.
unpredictable, and we don't think because we're in South Africa, we kind of miss it. Anything that happens on a global scale does have an impact on us, so most certainly it does. 100%. Thank you, Jackie. Yeah, so just remember to just include the VUCA into your, if it does pop up, just remember to just at least make notes on the VUCA as well, and then explain pestle, apply pestle, then you're going to be fine for Learning Unit 5. Learning Unit 6 is a little bit of a longer learning unit, but again, guys, in a nutshell, we can sort of hammer it down to a few key concepts that we are going to be looking at as well. So obviously Learning Unit 6, if I go back, my diagram would have, there it is, my beautiful diagram here. Here we are looking now at the industry environment, so the green one, the middle. Remember, guys, sometimes students have come to me and said, Kim, why didn't they just call it the industry environment? Remember, sometimes different authors and different texts and different writers will sometimes refer to the industry environment as the task environment, as the competitive environment, as the remote environment, or as the market environment. So any of those terms, they're referring to the middle environment, which is obviously what we refer to in our text as the industry environment as well. And here, like Mohammed says here, if we have a look at this highlighted one here, here's our good old faithful Porter's five forces. Again, another well-known theorist that comes up often in business management, but we have to give him recognition where recognition is due, because again, it's going to pop up often in terms of Porter's five forces as well. So you'll see in the beginning part of the chapter, they give you definitions of what an industry is. They look at some key success factors in an industry. They look at factors and relationships that will shape an industry. And then obviously we're going to look at Porter's five forces in terms of analyzing an industry. So we will remember that Porter identifies 5 different forces, 5 different elements that we need to be aware of within the industry. And they've all got to do with competitors or suppliers within the industry. So we are looking at our market environment. This is obviously competition between competitors. So existing competitors, what is the rivalry That's the term that they use, the rivalry between the competitors. Then we look at the threat of new entrants. I always tell my students, you may have a brilliant idea and a wonderful concept, start a business. A few weeks later, if that business is doing well, you'll often find someone has copied or trying to do a rip-off, if I can say, of that product as well. So just because there's no competitor yet doesn't mean that there will never be a competitor. So we always try and think about the threat of the new entrants. We look at the threat of substitutes, products that I can use in place of or instead of what we are going to be using. So substitutes are obviously those products that a customer can turn to instead of your product, but they will get the same amount of satisfaction from that product. So obviously, as a business, we need to be aware of that. We need to know what are the substitutes and how can we be better than the substitutes that we would need to be looking at. And then the last two are the bargaining powers of the buyers and the bargaining power of the suppliers as well. So obviously, the buyers have got impact on prices that are charged. Suppliers can also have an impact on how we're going to implement what we're going to do in terms of the supplier concentration. How easy is it to switch suppliers? How many suppliers are there that are supplying my specific product? Do I only have one choice of supplier, or do I have many suppliers that I have available to me as well? So again, 4 quarters, 5 forces, we've seen it time and time again in the exam. It's a 25-mark question. Explain and apply, and then obviously each factor is worth 5 marks. So generally it's quite a big question, so please don't skip through it. Please make sure you know Port as well, guys. If you know it well, I honestly believe that it is easy marks to try and get it. So first and foremost, learn the theory about Porter's 5 forces, so have a brief definition of each of them, and then obviously go into detail to try and explain them as well. Okay. Mohammed, you're welcome to ask your question as well.
I was just gonna say, like, yes, I want to ask in this question, they could give like a comparison of like scenario, for example. I'm just giving an example, like Chittor and Land Rover. Those two products are in big competition because Land Rover has been making the good waves for years, but then Chittor came in with the same product, but they kept their costs down and have the same features. Is that my understanding?
Yes, so definitely if Land Rover was doing an industry analysis, they would definitely look at Chittor as a competitor and analyze what Chittor is doing compared to them.
Yeah.
In the exam, I don't think that they would use two brands directly against each other. You know, I think there's some repercussions for that, but you are definitely on the right track. Land Rover and Chittor should both be analyzing, and they should both be knowing. We always say you should keep your enemies close. Hey, they should always be, and it's the same in business. We don't always like to think, but we need to know what our competitors are doing, what they are charging, what are their unique features, because we need to be competitive in the market. And if we don't know what's happening in the industry, then we are going to be falling behind. So Land Rover and Chittor definitely a good example of two competitors that know exactly what each other is doing and will try to outsmart each other most certainly as well.
Sorry, Kim, if also I can just add that Porters is also often used to assess whether or not it is attractive to enter into an industry. So if a business is thinking about diversifying or entering into a new industry, someone starting up a new business, they will use that framework to check the attractiveness by assessing how easy it is to actually get into the industry, how easy it is for competitors to mimic what they are doing. You know, they will then be able to plan strategically to either differentiate themselves in such a way as to better that competition, or they might decide to not enter into that environment because it's just not feasible in the long term. And it can also be used to exit an industry, because it's like the initial stages of deciding whether or not you want to enter an industry, but it's also an ongoing analytical tool to see what's happening in the environment because of VUCA, because everything's changing all the time, and seeing what you need to do to adapt and change your strategy so that you remain relevant and can retain your market share.
Yes, absolutely. That's such a great point. And you'll see when we're getting through to the case studies as well. I'm just remembering now one of the case studies that I was preparing speaks about the shisha monster drink compared to Red Bull, and there's direct competition against them as well, and how Red Bull wants to enter to different markets and try and, implement different strategies to overcome it. So definitely when we are going to look at new markets, or changing something, or expanding, or entering into a market, we'll definitely do Porter's 5 forces, 100%. Yeah. Remember, competitors, guys, can sometimes make or break a company as well. We need to analyze what our competitors are doing and the industry before we enter into them, because, it's the market is saturated. So there's a lot of businesses, there's a lot of organizations, and it's not cheap to, to start a business. So we would always analyze the industry first as well. How does that impact? You can see some of these other topics. How do we impact profitability? What are the competitors within the organization, and what are the customers within that organization as well? So just have a good overview, pardon me, of how we can implement Porter's 5 forces in many different scenarios, be able to apply Porter's 5 forces in terms of potentially entering into a market, to analyzing that industry, what is the suppliers and buyers behavior within that organization, and what are the competitors doing within that organization in terms of that as well. Just the last little point that I wanted to touch on is just to also have a read through. I think it is listed here. Here it's listed here as well. So I'm just going to highlight it here as well. Is obviously to have a read through the life cycle of the industry life cycle. You'll find it towards the end of the textbook there somewhere as well, sort of in the middle towards the end of it. But it's important just to understand, the development phase, the growth phase of an industry, the maturation phase, and obviously the decline phase that would happen. So we have seen it come up in some of the exams as well, just to go through the industry, how the industry changes, and what is the life cycle of the industry from development, growing, maturing, and then obviously declining. So just to have an idea of, the different stages that an industry would go to. There, like Lolita says, figure 6.2. Thank you so much, Lolita. Yes, that's exactly that. It's actually summarized quite nicely in that diagram. So just put a little star or a highlight next to that as well. Okay, let's do the last one, and then we will have some questions on that, guys. So learning unit 7 is obviously looking at the inside of the organization. This is the heart of the business. Remember, I was never gifted as an artist, but I did try to draw a little heart. The little heart of the organization, the internal environment. This is where the employees are. This is where the values are, your resources, your capabilities, policies, strengths, weaknesses. Everything that is within the business is within our heart. It makes the business who we are. And the beauty here is that we do have control over the internal organization. So we are able to control our values. We can control our resources. We have got control over capabilities. But it doesn't mean that we need to just let it get out of control. We still need to constantly analyze these internal environment points, because they can really help us grow from strength to strength as well. And this often is what makes the organization unique. So we need to understand within us what it is that makes me different, what it is that makes not me as a person, the organization, what is it that makes the organization different, what is it that's going to make the organization unique. And you can see I've highlighted the very first little part there is to understand why is it so important for an organization to understand its unique resources and capabilities. So the resources and the capabilities are what makes us valuable, are what sets us apart from our competitors, are what makes us unique as well. So within our business, we have many different resources. All our resources have got a certain amount of value towards us. So we need to understand what is the value of the resource in terms of, is it making me a competitive, is it giving me competitive advantages? Is it sustainable? Is it appropriate? Is it exploitable? So those are the four sort of criteria that we look at to say, to analyze or to determine the resource value. We need to know the different types of resources. So we're going to look at the different types of resources that we would be able to find within a business. We look at our physical resources. We look at intangible resources, things that I can't see, feel, or touch. Those are intangible resources. So these are brands, reputations, patents, values within our organization, brand value. Yeah, like I say, our brand image would be intangible resource. We've obviously got physical resources, human resources within the business itself. And then we also have capabilities. So it's also important for you to understand the different types of capabilities. If I remember correctly, we did it in the assignment. I can't remember now if it was just in the prep that I remember reading it or if it was in the assignment. But we've obviously got our threshold capabilities, we've got distinctive capabilities, and we have dynamic capabilities. So those are obviously capabilities that make us unique. Distinctive capabilities, these are our core competencies, what we can do well as a business, what skills do we have that puts us apart from our competitors. And again, you need to be able to explain these capabilities and these resources in terms of the case study that would have been provided. Sometimes we will look at a SWOT analysis. So sometimes you will get asked to evaluate strengths and weaknesses within the organization, and then you will be asked to conduct an internal analysis within the business that you would need to be doing as well. Yeah, so we look at key success factors within the environment that we're having. We look at how we can develop resources, how we can be distinctive, how we can be unique in what we are offering in terms of the internal environment. And I think, Jackie, I'm not sure if I'm missing anything from Learning Unit 7 in terms of the internal environment, if you want to jump in and add up before I move on.
No, I think that's everything. Just again, obviously, to be able to apply it, which you've already covered. Yeah.
Yeah, so it is important. Oh, guys, I can't actually reiterate that enough. The application is going to be so important, important to do. So please just apply.
And just one other thing I wanted to add, I'm not sure if it applies to this group. I was marking another module. It's one thing also to learn the theory, but you also need to be able to extract relevant theory, and not just regurgitate all the theory and then try and twist it around to try and see if it fits the case study. So understand the case study to see which elements of the theory are applicable, because otherwise it doesn't show that you're critically thinking. You're just regurgitating information and there's no link to the case study example, and it makes it very difficult for somebody who's reading or marking it to try and see that you've understood that what that theory actually is all about and how to apply it, if that makes sense. I'm not sure if I've explained myself well.
Yes, no, that is definitely, sometimes students can write theory, but it's not actually applicable to what they're doing. So always just make sure that your theory, the theory might be right, but it might not be in the right
irrelevant.
context. Yes,
Yes.
might be irrelevant.
Yes, so it's
True.
not, you know, if it's not relevant, then don't state it,
Yeah.
because you're just regurgitating then without
Yeah.
thinking, if I can put it
No,
that way.
definitely.
Okay.
Okay, guys, so I know we are like running a little bit out of time, but I just want to just mention the exam brief. So if you haven't had a chance to download it yet, it is available on the student portal. I must be honest, I haven't put mine up for the group yet, but I will also put it on ARC for the students, and I'm sure Jackie and Henny and Emily and Marilee will do the same as well, so that at least you can see the exam brief. In the exam brief, they're going to give you 5 different case studies, and of that, one is going to appear in your exam with the questions and all that. It will be written almost in a report essay from what we know from past experience. You know, you'll write it on specific questions in sort of a report to that company that you are writing it for. Remember, for the exam, you don't have to reference or add any additional research. It's literally a case study, and you are going to write the theory that you have studied, and you are going to apply that theory into your case studies as well. So our next session, which is on the 27th of May, we will unpack all the case studies in detail. So please don't panic yet. This gives you guys time to go and read through the case studies and to just go and orientate yourself about what's happening in the case studies. And then on the session on the 27th of May, we will unpack the case studies and try and see which questions we can apply to specific case studies as well. But in the meantime, I would encourage all of you guys to start reading through the case studies. The more that you can understand about the organization, you know, we don't know which case study is going to come up. So use this time. So instead of scrolling through social media, I know sometimes it's hard, but instead of, you know, just go and read some articles or go and find something that you can read that's interesting on some of these case studies. I must say, ladies and gents, I did read through the case studies. I didn't go through them in great detail, but I did scan through all of them. And they did excite me a little bit. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes we get case studies, guys, that I do find like terribly bleh. But I must say these case studies were super interesting, and I actually enjoyed reading them. So I'm hoping that you guys also find them a little bit, you know, more interesting as well. So the first case study that you will see, I'm not going to go into too much detail about each of them. Like I said, we will get into that as well. But the first case study is about Fresh Stop. So you'll know Fresh Stop is linked to the garages as well, from the petrol stations. And it's just how the brand has positioned itself as a convenience retailer, and what more they're offering in terms of premium coffee, ready-made meals, how they're trying to enhance the strategic advantage for them at the Fresh Stop, and how they're just really trying to you know, make everything more convenient. So they really are trying to remodel their business and how they have grown over the years in terms of that as well. So you'll see in the case study, they give us lots of figures, turnover figures, and just they give us examples of how they have really just tried to become a convenience stop. A lot of the Fresh Stops will also have Seattle coffees that are linked to them as well, which also brings a lot of customers, if I can say so. Just that strategic partnership with Caltex and with a few other, obviously now it would be Astron Energy, and how that transitioned, and so quite an interesting case study in terms of how they are strategically placing themselves within the market as well. And then the second case study, guys, this one kind of caught me off guard because I was a little bit behind with this organization, but it is called, I'm not even saying if I'm saying it correctly, but Shisha, which is a new energy drink that is obviously trying to take on or replace, if I can, not replace, but sort of take a bite into the market of Monster and Red Bull. So it's entered into the South African market. It's a uniquely South African energy drink, and it's trying to emerge as a challenger to Monster and to Red Bull and to all of that as well. So they've explained how the sugar cane is used to create this, and the different flavors. If I remember correctly, it was like a lime and a ginger beer. I can't remember all of the flavors, but it was quite an interesting read on how this, how they just really focused on their strengths and their goals and really just try to enter into the market. So again, we can, try and find some good questions coming from Shisha. I don't know if it was only me, guys, who hadn't heard of Shisha, but it was very interesting for me to read about it when I was preparing over the weekend. And then our third case study is Mr. Price. So this looks at how Mr. Price can, they call it the incubator program, where they try and look at how they can develop core businesses, but also embed social responsibility into it to really give back to the community. They look at addressing a few social development factors. I think some of them were unemployment, inequality, and things like that. So they had this foundation coffee incubator program, which actually encouraged young women to open up little coffee kiosks within the Mr. Price home store. So they trained young women who were unemployed, and they taught them how to make coffee, and they could actually operate these kiosks in the Mr. Price home stores. So that was our third case study. The fourth case study is also an interesting one. It is about F&B Connect. So not just about the banking, but about how F&B is connected through the app that they are going to use. So the app that they are using, and also how they can connect in terms of their communication strategies, and what are they doing differently compared to the other banks as well. So F&B Connect is it's basically a service that will grant customers instant connectivity. So it's like an eSIM card. So it's not a physical SIM card, but it's an eSIM card that can give access to instant connectivity so that people can use their services and bank with an unlimited. It's going to be free for them to bank, okay? Because the app, this F&B Connect, is zero rated. In other words, you are not paying for the app. So also just interesting how they use an innovative way in which they can get customers to be engaged and to put them aside. And then obviously here we have our, if we can call it our entry or our expansion, where we look at Walmart entering into South Africa. So what is the strategic direction? What would the strategic decisions be for Walmart? What were some of the competitive implications? What was the strategic effort for Walmart to enter into South Africa? Was it successful? Was it not successful? So as they are preparing to expand even further into South Africa, they obviously need to make certain decisions. Their senior leadership needs to analyze data and make decisions going forward in this case study as well. So that's an overview of the case study, ladies and gents. Like I say, don't panic if you haven't heard of any of them. Like me, Lolita, you see you and I on the same page here. But do go and read through them. So I don't expect you to study them off by heart yet, guys, but do go and just have an idea of, because the more you know about Shisha or Mr. Price or the F&B Connect or Walmart trying to enter into South Africa in a greater span, the easier it's going to be for you to apply. So I would encourage you guys just to take these 5 and just keep them in your radar, and just constantly, if you see anything that pops up on it, go and read the article. I bet you all of us tomorrow morning or later when we go onto Facebook or Instagram, we're going to get something to do with one of these, because it's always listening. So now we're going to get an F&B Connect advert or phone call tomorrow. Sorry, guys. We're going to all be drinking shisha. We're all going to be getting adverts for shisha energy drinks. Shotgun the lime flavor. No, guys, that really is all from my side. I'm obviously going to open up time for questions. I'm just going to answer Azra's question as well. So as I was asking, as for those of you who can't see the chat, the exam is a scene exam. So you get 5 case studies and one of them are going to come out. And she's asking, what can we go into the exam with? So remember, the exam is still a closed book exam. So the only thing that we see before the time is the case studies. Our exam itself is still a closed book. So going into the exam, the only thing you can take with is your pen, your pencil, and that's about it. So no books, no notes or anything. It's still a closed book exam, but we can prepare we've seen the case studies. So sometimes we get excited when we say, oh, it's a scene exam, I can take my notes in, but it's definitely not an open book exam. So we still need to learn all the theory. But a good question, Azra. Mohammed, I see you also have a question you're welcome to ask as well.
I have two, but my first one is how do we go about like structuring our introduction and conclusion
So I would,
from now and then have like a brief idea?
yeah, so look, I must say sometimes from last year they actually changed it a little bit, but let's say hypothetically you're going to write it like a report. I would say in your introduction, have a brief explanation of what the organization is. So if you are speaking about, let's say, Fresh Stop, just a brief definition of what Fresh Stop is or the context of what you are going to be doing. Remember the introduction and the conclusion. In total, it's going to be a maximum of 5 marks. So I wouldn't make your introduction this lengthy re-explaining all the definitions because you only have 2 hours to write the exam. And guys, those 2 hours go super duper quickly. So I would then focus on writing a short introduction and a short conclusion and focus my time and energy on where I'm actually going to get marks. But I would structure it the same way that you have structured your assignments, basically an introduction, write the heading, whatever this, let's say there's 6 different headings or sub questions, write the heading of the sub question and then go into the information. But keep your introduction short and sweet. There shouldn't be a word count. So in the past, there hasn't been a word count on the exam, so you can write as much as what you can write. Obviously, we don't expect you to go and count all the words, so there's no word count. So yeah, you just write and keep the introduction and conclusion simple.
Kim, if I can just add, so
Yes.
I think the key here is when unpacking all these case studies, and I haven't looked at them either, is to see what learning unit it fits and start looking at, and I know Henny's going to, unpack that further for us next time, but start looking at the type of questions that could come out. So what are they actually saying about Fresh Stop and Shisha and Mr. Price, etc.? Where will it fit? Is it about strategic direction? Is it about the macro environment analysis? Is it the industry analysis? And in that way, you can start aligning the theory to what you can already pick out of the case study. And that's going to help you. And then your introduction and conclusion you can do last, because you will know what, as it comes out of the question, I mean, when you see the question, you'll be able to restructure those thoughts that you've already planned and prepared for around the questions. And then your introduction does what? It contextualizes what you're going to say. So who are you writing about? What are you going to write about? And make sure you cover those points. And then your conclusion just wraps all of that up. So I wouldn't really focus too much on outlining those in the beginning because we don't really know what questions there are, but we certainly can prepare for the type of theory questions that will come out.
Yes, 100%.
So that's what
very
I would.
valid.
The other thing that I do want to say for those of you who are writing on-campus exams, please start writing now, because you have no idea how difficult it is to write for 2 hours if you haven't written for a long time. I promise you, I can't even remember what I was doing. Oh, I was preparing something for one of the classes that I teach at our church, and my printer had run out of ink, and it was late on a Friday night, and of course I was doing a lastminute.com prep because I ran out of time. And here I am writing out all my notes and the activities and the games that I wanted the kids to play. Can I tell you how sore my hand was? And I only wrote for about 20 minutes. So writing for 2 hours in our society, in our world today, when we type everything
Yeah,
and
you're
text
right.
everything with our thumbs, practice writing, because I promise
Yeah.
you it is hard. You need to write fast and as legibly as possible to be able to get the maximum mark. So while you're busy plotting out your case study, your info, handwrite it. Don't type unless you're doing the online exam.
No, that's very true. I remember I had one student tell me, "Yo, Kim, my hand was cramping in the exam," and we don't understand it, but you're very, very true. Lolita, I see you also have a question. You're welcome to ask as well.
Hi, Kim. I actually, Jackie answered quite a few of the questions I was
Oh,
going to ask.
fab.
So thank you very much, and thank you for that tip. It makes absolute sense. I am writing on campus. I actually enjoy the physical writing. I feel like the ideas from thought to hand flows better. But yeah, I was going to ask a question about the structure of the questions. I hadn't read, as you were talking, I was just looking through the exam guidelines. So I just wanted to understand, are you saying, sorry, and also I came in like 10 minutes late into this meeting, so I might have missed something. Are the questions structured like we having to answer in a report form, or are we, is that the basis of the how the questions are structured for this exam?
Yes, that's how I understand it, Lolita. So in the past, they have been like that as well, where it is almost, so it's, you're almost writing it to the board of directors of the certain company, advising them or giving them tips on their strategic decision making, and you are writing it in a report form. I always tell the students to just please put the headings, the subheadings, because it becomes a nightmare to mark if we can't find, so just say if it's Porter's five forces, write a heading Porter's five forces. But yes, it should be in a report format type. But still specific sections of work, so still answered in different questions, but you will be writing it in a report form. Yes.
Okay, thanks for that. Sorry, and then I had one more question. If regarding that learning unit 5, I think someone else asked a question. Can you elaborate what is the difference in that macro environment? What's the difference between the factors and the forces? Or shall I ask that in a different platform?
No, I'm trying to think now. That's quite a Jackie. I'm not sure if you've got a. I'm trying to think of how to
No,
put
no,
it.
it's just no. I think
don't
it's just terminology. It's just
Yeah,
that you get macro environmental forces or macro environmental factors, forces or factors. So it's the
same. Yeah.
same but different. And I'm just joking. Same.
Yeah, I think the
Yeah,
terminology is
it's a
just
terminology thing. Yeah.
yeah,
I think they like to use the word forces because of, especially in the macro environment, because it's something that you have no control over. So
yes.
it's
It
forced
forces you
upon
to
you.
react.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you have to now react, adapt, or die.
Yes.
And or they call them the factors, and then that really rolls up into pestle.
Yes, yeah. So I think when you're speaking about macro forces, factors, they're speaking about the pestle forces or factors. It's the
Yes.
same.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Okay, thanks.
Perfect. Someone's house. Someone's hand was also up. I think it was you. Goodness, I'm not too sure, but anyone got a question, guys? Shame, I know we are over time, so if anybody wants to leave the session, we won't think anything bad of you. You're welcome to go and enjoy the rest of your evening. Sending lots of love, and we will catch up with the case studies. We will go through the case studies, guys, but you'll see there are questions on the case studies already. So please don't leave it till the last minute. Please do read through those case studies and start preparing them in the meantime, in preparation for 2 weeks' time. But obviously, I'm still going to stay online. But guys, I won't keep anyone unnecessarily. So if you want to log off, you are most welcome to. Otherwise, I'll still be here to answer some questions. But thank you so much. It was lovely having all the students in the group, all the students from the different classes. I will make sure that the recording gets to all of you very soon.
Thank you so
Good
much,
night.
Kim. This has
No,
been awesome. Thanks.
thank you so much, Jackie, and we will chat again soon. And good luck for
Yes.
the rest of the marking.
Thank you. You too.
Okay. I'll stay online just until the last minute. If anybody's got last minute questions, you're welcome to ask. But good night, everybody. Thank you so, so much.
You know what I wanted to say, Kim, by the way?
Yes.
It's a nice to know, but it's not a question. So it's not shisha, it's actually shesha. It's a Zulu word.
Shesha.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's a
thank
Zulu
you.
word that means speed. I've never seen the
Speed.
energy drink, but that's what it means
So
actually.
shesha.
Yes, shesha,
Okay,
speed.
okay. I always thought baleka means I'm running fast.
That is true also. That's
Okay.
correct. Yes.
I always tell my children you must baleka, but now I'm going to tell them shesha, you must have shesha.
Yes,
I've
shesha means
learned
walk
something
fast, walk
new.
fast.
Thanks for sharing
Okay.
that.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
I thought I'd just mention an interesting fact. So I was searching for this Shesha and other things came up. And only after I typed in Shesha energy drink could I actually find it. So they need to work on their search engine optimization.
I was just thinking, because I hadn't heard of it before, but I'm very anti all these energy drinks. And I was just thinking that they really need to up their marketing game as well. If this was a marketing module, we could really take them to task.
Absolutely. But thank you, Kim, and thank you, Jacqueline. I'm going to say good night.
Good night.
All right, bye.
Kim, I want to ask, would you recommend like putting the case studies into AI and putting the questions from the module outlines and asking AI to think as a business management 3 lecturer and formulate the questions of what you would think of the case study?
Sorry, I was answering your question, but my microphone is off. I don't think that's a bad idea, to be honest. Obviously, you just have to check that that the questions have your understanding to it. But in terms of practicing it and that, and if AI can give you questions, then I would say go for it as a learning tool and a thing that you can implement to use, obviously, to generate the questions. I think that would be a good starting point. When you are doing your answers, just make sure you always just refer back to the textbook. I know that sometimes in terms of the micro, and remember once my first year students, the question was to analyze the micro environment, and in a different part, I think it was in America or something where it was based on, they actually gave them market factors. So my poor students got 0 for that question because they didn't check that the information is right. But in terms of generating you questions and stuff, by all means, I would say go for it. As a
Yeah.
studying tool, it's a good studying tool.
Yeah, and maybe the AI will give a similar question towards the exam setter.
Yeah, so look, we obviously you don't know, but the more you can practice the questions, the better. And if AI can generate some questions that you can go and practice answering, I always tell when I'm busy helping my kids study for their exams, I always ask AI to generate flashcards or this is the information, set up an exam for it. So as a studying tool, there's definitely benefit in it. I wouldn't only learn from AI, obviously, because we know that can be risky. We still want to see, like Jackie mentioned, we want to see your understanding. We want to see that you understand the case study and that you actually have a good grasp of the knowledge. So we still want to see that your voice is coming through. But as a starting point to get you started on generating questions, I would say do it. Yes.
Thank you. I will.
No problem. Sorry, Azra, you welcome to type. I'll answer your questions there. Marius, the exam is online. So the exam is written online on the online assessment platform. There are some students that will choose to write on campus, so there is that option. But most of the students I know do write online on the online assessment platform. We call it Dugga or Duga, but you can also choose to write on campus as long as you have indicated which center you are going to write at. But the exam is online as well. Yes, Azra. So The exam will definitely have questions, but those questions will be answered in a report format. But it's not a typical like a second year paper where they have question 1, question 2. They'll have the subheadings that will be allocated and answered in a report format. Yes, very similar to the assignments. So very, very similar. That's how it has been in the past, where they have been similar structure to the assignment. So they'll give us the content that we need to cover, but it will be in the thing, but no word count. There shouldn't be a word count. I think it will say in the brief, but I haven't read that there's a word count for it. No. You can write as much as what you possibly can in 2 hours. No word count.
Kim,
Yes.
I was having a quick look at the brief, and it looks like they might ask some short questions as well, if I've read this thing properly.
Okay.
So they might have changed it. So, you know, obviously there's going to be the longer theory questions and the application, but I think the most important thing is for everyone to understand the content of all the different
Yes.
learning units, and however that gets applied, whether it be through a
Yeah.
short question or a long report or whatever, because I don't know, they've ticked some funny things here.
I must go and read it in more detail. Like I said, I just read through the case studies because
Yeah,
it wasn't uploaded.
yeah,
You know,
I
that
only
didn't give
just
us a
looked at it
lot
now
of time to
myself.
prepare through it. But I will, before the next session, we'll just make sure that Henny and I, with all of us, we go through it in great
Yeah,
detail.
because they've got it's got short questions, application, analysis, and integration. And they've got a tick next. I don't quite understand their table, to be honest. And then they've got short to medium length
I also didn't
paragraphs.
get that table. It looked like Greek to
Yeah.
me.
I didn't understand because they've got yes and no, and no and no, and yes and no.
Yeah,
So
no,
I'm
it
not
was very
100% sure.
weird.
I think we must just ask for some clarity as well.
Yeah, I think we should. But don't stress too much, guys. The bottom line is the info. You will have to give information, whether it's in a report format or a set question. You're going to have to give the information and the application.
Yes, and just
But we'll have more
work
clarity
according to
on
those
that.
case studies. Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Okay, guys, let's call it a night. I'm sorry I kept you all over time, but I hope it was worth it. And yeah, we'll chat soon.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, good night.